You're the only person that thinks that. You're JVL. I can't.
Yes, because I look
like
objectively at the things that he passed. Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Next Level. I'm JVL here with my best friends, Sarah Longwell and Tim Miller of the Bulwark. Hit the subscribe button, give us 5 stars, do all of the things, and then go over to thebulwark.com and sign up to get our newsletters. I have got a banger that I am working on today, and you people will want to read it. It's going to be quite good. Sarah might even read it next week when she's sorting up through her email.
Maybe.
Okay.
Sarah, your lighting is really good today. It's nice.
I'm in my home studio today.
Oh, that's nice.
It's beautiful. Do you have box lights? Did you really blow it all out?
I have whatever Barry did for me. You know?
Yeah.
So
Hey, Barry.
Barry gives me a setup.
We love Barry. Okay, a lot of stuff to talk about. We had Old Pudding Fingers sitting down with Jake Tapper last night, actually using the word pudding because I guess no consultant had told him, whatever you do, don't use the word pudding.
Can I just say, that's an awkward conversation to have. As somebody who's had to have these conversations with candidates, and be like, hey, maybe you should stop saying that. Like, I forget what, there was one thing that Jeb kept saying that was wrong, and it's like, oh, God, but, then you have to go up to him and be the guy that's like, hey, this thing you've said 4 times, that's not true. You hate to be that person. And so then to add on to it, to go up to him and be like, hey, sir, hey, boss, you really can't say the word pudding anymore because there's a big meme about how you like to eat pudding with your fingers on the internet. It's an awkward combo to have.
It's funny you say that because last night our former president, the 2024 Republican frontrunner Donald J. Trump, sat down with Sean Hannity, and he said a bunch of stuff, including that Joe Biden got tens of millions of dollars. Now, this is the thing which is not true. It is not
tens of millions of dollars from whom?
From just tens of millions of dollars. This is why he should be impeached. He was impeached for his perfect
from the
phone
Chinese
call
and the Ukrainians
right.
and yeah.
So this isn't a thing where the problem is that he's rounding up, or that actually Biden only got $2 million and he's saying instead. This is like saying Joe Biden owns 5 elephants, and the answer is that Joe Biden doesn't own any elephants. And so you would think that somebody...
Nobody's proved he owns 5 elephants.
You would think that somebody, as you say, Tim, one of the consultants, Jason Miller would come up to him without his chin and say, hey, sir, Mr. President, you can't say that, right? But nobody says that. And furthermore, Donald Trump pays no price for this. So why did you have to tell Jeb, don't say this thing that's wrong? Because, turns out you can just say whatever you want.
Yeah. Well, we weren't playing on the same playing field as Donald Trump. I was laughing with my husband about this yesterday when Playbook came through, and he's like, I have to tell you something that's embarrassing. And I was like, what? He's like, I kind of chuckled at a Jason Miller statement. Because Jason Miller put out some chinless statement about how Ron DeSanctimonious's reboot is worse than the MacGyver and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles reboot, and he has and it's just all these personal attacks. And this is the imbalance that Trump plays on, right? Is that he gets to he called DeSantis a son of a bitch at TPUSA this weekend. Then meanwhile, we talked about this a little bit on the YouTube with Will Salatin last night, which you should check out. DeSantis gets asked about Trump being indicted for the 3rd time. We're now 3 minutes into the podcast. You haven't mentioned that yet. He's about to be indicted for the 3rd time, the former president of the United States, this time for a coup. And DeSantis has to be like, well, he spent a couple too many hours sitting around, it seems like, in the White House. But the big problem here is Alvin Bragg. Dog, whistle, horn. That's that's the real problem. So this is kind of an imbalance, when your opponent's calling you a son of a bitch, and when he gets indicted for the 3rd time, over a coup, you can't even really criticize him by name.
You know what, though? This is, as many people in the more hawkish side of the world criticize the Biden administration on Ukraine. They say they're practicing self-deterrence. This is self-deterrence on the part of other Republicans. Yeah. And we can't. Why not? Why not? And the answer is because they're scared.
Yeah, because they might use a nuke.
Yeah. So, Sarah, what did you think of the pre-taped town hall with Sean Hannity, in which Fox decided to leave in the Trump allegations of election fraud with phony ballots? I guess that when the whole purpose of pre-taping is to cut stuff that could give you more legal exposure out. I think it was a whole thing. Did you have thoughts?
I guess my biggest thought was that it feels like time is a flat circle. And the fact that you guys just remarked at all about Trump having a different playing field, telling the truth, like, yeah, I don't like this is the guy we've been dealing with. It's like we got like a little break from this, but not much of one. And maybe it was just enough for us to remember, or for us to like forget how compulsively he lies, how much he does it like breathing, how much so much of what he did in the early days where we were really shocked by it was just say things that were flatly false. And it took a long time for people to be like, you have to challenge that. What do you like? Of course he doesn't have anybody on his staff being like, sir, don't tell those lies. Like, he's got a staff of people that are like, here's how we need to, frame things on Biden. We're going to talk about Burisma all the time and just say he has millions of dollars and people will believe it because we live in a world where we create our own reality for voters. And to listen to people cheering, much like the CNN town hall, Trump also had, this was packed with a friendly audience, when he would talk about the election being rigged. He called it election interference. Man, does he do this with the, I'm going to take the language they use for me and I'm going to apply it to the things they're doing. So he talked about, he said they make ballots. They just make up ballots and it's election interference.
Did you, Sarah, did you clock when he talked about how it was like a coup against him?
Yeah.
The guy who committed the coup, complaining about how it was like a coup. The people came after, as you
What's
say.
What's your line? Projection is the sincerest form of what?
Trumpism.
Yeah.
The sincerest form of Trumpism, yeah.
So that's what I saw happening. I will say, I got when I was watching DeSantis talk to Tapper, and he has that smile, like he's like sitting there grinning weirdly and uncomfortably before he gets asked a question. And then I was watching Trump with his like glower thing that he does. But it works for Trump in a way that like DeSantis looks like a cheese ball. He looks uncomfortable. Trump looks like he's in control. Hannity, it was funny the way Hannity opened up. He was like, you look well, you look healthy, because this is going to become a like stamina contest between two old men. Like,
did you hear
the
Megyn Kelly's take on this?
Oh my God.
Megyn Kelly got to meet Donald Trump in person, the guy who you might recall talked about how she was on the rag during his last campaign in 2016. She's water under the bridge there for Megyn.
The heat of the moment.
Yeah, he just kind of threw out comments about my period, but no big deal. Coup, water under the bridge. What she was interested in, she got to see him in person for the first time in a while because of that little tiff that they had. And she was raving about his stamina, how his staff just feeds him Hershey's bars and McDonald's, and yet still he has more energy than me. He's healthier than a horse. She goes on to say that there must be something. I wish I could get some of that gene pool. That was a little. That line was a little on the border for me. I didn't love that line. Made me cringe a little bit. But yeah, I mean, this is like they're all going. They're all doing it. They're all signing up for this.
Yeah,
it's
back on the train.
So here is Tim and I. Sarah, you weren't here. Tim and I talked about this a little bit beforehand. I think that Trump has the perfect answer to all of the indictments. Here's what he said. He said they're trying to demean and diminish and frighten people. But MAGA's not going to be frightened. We're not going to be frightened. And that, I think, is the perfect catch-all response, which frames every indictment of him simply as they, meaning the people who think they're better than you, trying to demean you. And just take all of the legal stuff out of it, right? Just say they're doing this as an attack on you because they don't like you. And we're not going to be frightened, and we're going to fight back. And God,
I was just saying, this is like where Trump is really in tune with the voters, because this is what they say in the focus groups. Like, every indictment to them is evidence that the deep state fears Trump. That this is what the establishment fears, that they're coming after him, that Biden, and Fox News is carrying water for him on this. And so is everybody else on the right. The idea that that's why they have the anti-weaponization committee, right? Because they want to say this is about weaponizing the DOJ. Like, the way that Republicans sort of frame this stuff, just as like from a pure comms psychological standpoint, they understand their voters and they understand ways to set these things up to provide that idea of like, this is a two-tier justice system. Trump is being attacked. And it does create this sense in the voters of like, well, we've got to support Trump because they're trying to get him. They want to get him out of this race, and we can't let Biden do that. We can't let Biden take out with his DOJ, his main rival. And you can see how that puts them on side for Trump.
They're doing the talking points for him.
Yeah.
Like DeSantis, when he gives this answer, like they think that they are being clever. All of these people, DeSantis, but he's the most important one, but all down the line, they think they're being clever by saying, okay, this is my out. I can kind of avoid having to engage on the merits on this issue where a lot of MAGA voters are going to side with Trump, and I don't have to pick a side between, whether what Trump did was bad or good. I can kind of make some generic comments about how it'd be better to not have baggage, and then I will pivot into this message about the Democratic deep state, and that will make the voters love me. But that's wrong. That's them doing Trump's talking points for him. Like he has set what his defense is, and what his spin is. And now, in a position where DeSantis and whoever else thinks they might have an actual chance of winning this primary, has an opportunity to engage directly, they instead are doing Trump's talking points for him. So Trump could not show up at that debate in August, which I know we'll talk about, and have everybody on stage except Chris Christie doing his talking points for him on these indictments. I mean, like it is a total trap that these guys have all just walked into. And by the way, not just them. I ranted about this with yesterday, but McCarthy. McCarthy and all down the line, doing this whole, like this conspiracy of, Mr. Trump's polling is doing so good. And that's why sleepy Merrick Garland has decided to get off his ass and come after him, which is like completely false, completely insane. The Speaker of the House is pushing this line. And there's nobody in the Republican Party besides, I guess, Chris Christie and Asa Hutchinson and occasionally Mitt when he gets asked about it, who are even offering a counter narrative. There's nobody on Fox offering a counter. There's nobody it's not like Jesse. Well, there's one primetime host on Fox. It's like, guys, this is actually not true. Okay, this is not true. Like we have a legal system. There's a grand jury. The grand juries are deciding. Like it's
which primetime host is it who says that?
No, that's what I'm saying. There's not anything. There's nobody. There's nobody on Fox. Like so Trump has set this completely bullshit narrative, and all of his opponents are echoing it. All the primetime, all the media, big conservative media people are echoing it. Even the Republicans who aren't in the race and would benefit from having Trump out of the picture are echoing it.
Well, and what they really don't understand, what like Ron DeSantis doesn't understand clearly is that if the framing of this is these indictments are these people trying to spit on you, then those people are not going to then turn around and say, yeah, well, I guess there are those people who we hate are just, we're going to have to do Ron DeSantis instead of Donald Trump, right? That then becomes a betrayal. That becomes like an act of cowardice. Of course, they're going to vote for Trump just to show them, just to spite them.
Right, because I'm one of the spitters then.
Right.
Then you become one of the spitters if you betray Trump, right?
Yes. And so, I look at it and does Ron DeSantis is he really in this to win? Because I don't think he is. I don't think Ron DeSantis is actually running to defeat Trump at this point.
Yeah,
I think DeSantis is just running to... You think he is trying to? Yeah,
he's getting bad. He's getting horrible advice. It's the same advice that people have been giving Republicans for 8 years now. But yes, I think that who was the person that there was a blind quote from a strategist a couple months ago that was like, maybe the next indictment will be the straw that breaks the camel's back or something. I think that's the strategy. I think that DeSantis really believes that once we get to Iowa, once it's real decision time and people look at this. And did you see the old lady video? There's this old lady at a DeSantis event, and she's like, I love Trump in my heart. I love Donald Trump in my heart. Sebastian, put this in the show notes so people can watch it. And DeSantis' war room put this out. And he's such a good man, and the people are coming for him, and the way that they've treated him is so horrible. But when I listen to you talk, my brain takes over, and I'm like, we need somebody that can actually win. And as much as I love Trump, we need somebody who can get this done, or whatever. And DeSantis thinks that lady is gonna be the like what people do in the end. I think that they've really convinced themselves that they can win that argument, and that's not just, a handful of one-offs.
I will say that is DeSantis's only hope. Like, just strategically, you can't blame them for leaning into that, because like the strategy at this point has to be have to win Iowa on an electability argument and try to create momentum from there and disrupt Trump's sense of inevitability. Yeah. That's it. That's the only strategy.
I guess, but I get a little nervous when I see Guy Benson and the DeSantis stands out there tweeting, "Put this in an ad," and like the ad is an old lady going, "I love Donald Trump in my heart, but my brain."
You want to know something?
Yeah,
you want to know something?
Okay, yeah.
So we in our shop have been talking to a lot of the two-time Trump voters and trying to understand the ones who want to move on, and that's how they all sound. And let me tell you something else. If you put an ad out, I don't know if you saw the Club for Growth ad. Club for Growth ad was basically, good. It was the strategy that we have used. I endorse it. It is a permission structure strategy. They got this guy and Jon, someone from not Iowa, but from somewhere, saying that he loves Trump. He used the word loves. I loved Donald Trump. But Democrats are crazy and we have to win. And that's why I need to vote for Ron DeSantis. If you test that ad, so here's what people do before they spend millions of dollars on ads. They test them.
Here's what some people do.
Here's what some people do. That's right. That's it. Right. People who want to make sure that they don't have a backlash effect, or they're not doing more harm than good, or that their messaging sucks. A lot of people, they test their ads to make sure they're persuasive with their target audience. So if your target audience is Trump voters, and you give them an ad that doesn't include some "I love Donald Trump," or "Donald Trump was a great president," but you don't give them that compliment sandwich around Trump, they reject it. Yeah. They hate it. And this is just the state of the party.
Have you tested anything which runs hard at Trump from his right? Which is like, he promised us he'd build a wall, and he didn't. There's no wall. Ron DeSantis went and found illegal immigrants in Texas and sent them to Martha's Vineyard. Donald Trump never did that. I mean, couldn't he have run like hard like that? We need somebody who wins, not somebody who loses and then whines about it. Ron DeSantis beat the crap out of the black candidate and then beat the crap out of that weird tan guy too. I mean, couldn't you run like that at them, or no?
I suspect he will do that eventually. I mean, I think that is. The thing is that their strategy is to run at him from the right. The thing is that they haven't chosen the wall. What they've chosen is
homosexuals,
vaccines
and
gays,
and
trans folks, and abortion. Yeah, that's right. So they're running at him from the right. That is their strategy. They just have picked, I think, the most toxic issues for swing voters to do it with.
And maybe even for like Republican swing vote, like in Republican primaries. Like, I'm not sure that you're going to win a whole lot by saying, we're going to 6-week abortion ban. Is that a winning thing?
Jake Tapper asked an excellent question of him, which is like,
right?
Hey,
I don't know.
Your number one thing that a lot of people see in you is that you're Trump without the baggage. You're an electability candidate, but they're concerned that you're running so far right now that you're not less and less the electability candidate, which is true. And to say, no, I won suburban moms in Florida. That's what I was best at. Okay, guess what? It's not all Florida.
Different animal. Suburban mom in Tampa is a special breed. God love you, Becky. I hate to take over the thing, but before we get into this, we skipped over from the Hannity interview the former president's comments about Chairman Xi. Were you getting that?
Oh yeah, brilliant. Called him brilliant.
Brilliant guy.
He rules 1.4 billion people with an iron fist. You couldn't even get, if you go to Hollywood and
there's nobody.
What is that Hollywood line? What does that mean?
To him, that's the highest compliment is that somebody looks the part. Yeah. Right? He's a casting director essentially. And he's not crazy about this because again, he understands his voters, right? That's why he does the jaw shut thing. It's the guy who's supposed to be the toughest on China is the one who is just slurping up on Xi.
It's a little confusing. It's a little confusing. Isn't the whole argument against Joe Biden that he's somehow secretly on the take of the Chinese and he's been doing their bidding, and it's like, And then later in the interview, it's like, damn, I love the Chinese. Just give me some of that Chairman Xi. Like, that is confusing. And it's also, I think, deeply alarming that, like, on the same day the New York Times does a big takeout on Donald Trump's authoritarian aspirations, he's then on TV that night going like, yeah, and here's my model.
Yeah. Look
China.
at that. He rules with an iron fist, and there's no questions, and everybody's happy about it. Great. Great. And he's over 50% in the party of freedom. Sarah, one last thing before we get off of this and on to the next thing. A couple weeks ago, Trump did a rally in South Carolina. They went to some small little town, which does not have the word podunk in its name. And I think the town has a population of 4,000 people. And he brought 50,000 people there.
That's not true.
Took over a town. Yeah.
That's not
Yeah,
true.
this is... No, the 50,000
This is propaganda.
No.
Who said
the
Hey,
50,000
Tim, what if,
is not...
what
the
if it's
50,000 comes
35,000?
from...
What if it's 35,000?
What if it's
Again,
15?
The 50,000 does not come from the Trump campaign. It comes from, like, the local paper.
It's hard to count
I
50,000
follow a lot
books,
of I follow Bill Mitchell, the former Trump superfan who's now a DeSantis superfan. Who's like one of his big shticks is undermining all the Trump crowd counts. It's kind of sad. It's like, ooh, they said it was 9,000, but here's a picture that makes it look like 6,500, and it's like, all right, man. Well, DeSantis had 16.
What's really
people.
sad is when Bill has to get back on the Trump train in a couple
that's
months.
coming.
That's gonna be sad.
Anyways, okay, whatever.
But the point is.
Objection. I just want a point of objection on the number 50,000 from me.
A very large number of people in the state that is supposedly going to be where the great hope Tim Scott finally brings it all home. And I just, Sarah, like this is that juice, right? The excitement factor that there is nobody. Ron DeSantis could not bring out 50,000 people in Tallahassee.
So here's my one counter argument to this. I agree with you, basically. But, like, Joe Biden also couldn't bring out 50,000 people.
Yes.
Right? And so
Correct.
there's the world, like, so with the world they're imagining. Stop. The world that they're imagining, and this is what I think is, the world they're imagining is a world of Republican voters that are pragmatic. Right? Like, that is, everybody's banking on the idea that actually... These are pragmatic voters, and like they're going to come around to someone who they think can beat Joe Biden, that they like. And here's the thing. People do generally like Tim Scott. Like this is one of those things where like if you go around a crowd of people, Republicans, and you're like, what do you think of Tim Scott? They're like, oh, I really like Tim Scott. He seems great. His name comes up a lot in focus groups. It's like people just like him. They never come up in terms of wanting to vote for him. They like it, and that's the thing. Right. And so the donors. So here's what it's just like. Look,
this may not be an accident.
Donors. So donors look at Tim Scott and they think. And so Tim Scott also, by the way, is one of the only people he's making actually a pretty specific pitch. And I gotta tell you, I kind of like it. In a different world, this would work on a younger, more naive Sarah Longwell, which is he's making like a great American story pitch, an optimistic pitch about how we're a great country. Yeah. It is far too like wrapped up now in Trumpism and all this stuff. But if he was running 5 or 6 years ago with this message, I think it would be pretty appealing to people. Yeah. And so I think people do like him. And I see why donors think that donors like him because they like that. They like that, right? If you're a billionaire, you believe in the great American success story, right?
Yeah,
you love seeing him
you
tell that story. Yeah, that's
Only
right.
in America can a moronic, philandering, thrice indicted buffoon be elected president 2 times. And can I be his vice president? I have a quick South Carolina comment, just something to observe.
One second, then you can do it. This is a quick yes or no question for the both of you.
Yeah.
A hypothetical. If we could have somebody come back in a time machine from the future to tell Republican voters, hey, guys, I have just seen the future. And I'm telling you, if you nominate Tim Scott, he will beat Joe Biden. He'll get like 53% of the vote. It'll be a 400 electoral vote landslide. And you guys will get to govern, unified control of government. But if you nominate Donald Trump, you've only got like a 3 in 10 chance of winning. What chances do you think there are that the Republican electorate in America would nominate Tim Scott under those conditions? Because I think the chances are precisely 0.
I think that moves nothing.
Yeah.
I don't think that moves anything. Because they'd be like, well, you didn't come from a future where Donald Trump won. So maybe he would. Maybe he would win with 55%. Maybe he'd win with 58%.
Donald Trump, right? They want that. And they'll just like, winning stuff. That's just cover.
The only there was one piece of, in addition to what Sarah said, there's one piece of bad news. Actually, I want to counter Sarah and then counter JVL. The Tim Scott thing, they do like him, but did you watch the Tucker Tim Scott interview at all? Did you get the chance to watch any of that?
I did.
Who'd the crowd like better during that interview?
Tucker.
Not even close. Not even.
Yeah, it's not close. No, it's true. It's true.
It wasn't even close. So they like him fine, but like once he got pressed on some of his more, let's say, traditional Republican stances vis-a-vis somebody who has more of a, let's say, traditional authoritarian nationalist stance, like they were siding overwhelmingly with Tucker. The one South Carolina thing that is working in Trump's disfavor, I think this is the first piece of actual news of a state party making a decision that did not help Trump. Because there was a lot of discussion for a while that state parties would like move things to proportional, and like the handful of state parties that were left that had normie Republicans running them, like would try to put their thumb on the scale a little bit for DeSantis, and that has not happened at all. But South Carolina, they kept the primary later, so there is a big gap between now Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina, which is like I think hypothetically good. Right, for somebody to challenge Trump, like versus a really fast first four, where Trump could kind of bulldoze through with momentum and have the thing be over. So I don't think this. I think this changes things only on the margins, only in a situation where Trump is really losing altitude, which might not happen. But anyway, I thought that was a noteworthy thing that happened this week.
What it does is it increases what I think is like, again, the only singular path through, which is that somebody else wins Iowa, and so and let's say Trump. Maybe he even comes in first in New Hampshire, but it's really close.
Yeah,
and then you basically have like a long time for people to
chew it over.
Yeah, and see if they want to make the pragmatic choice, right?
All right, Tim, sing us a song of Huntsman.
Oh boy, I've got a lot of rants coming. We're already 26 minutes in. I've got some good material left.
You've got 24 minutes.
I'm gonna go get another cup of tea.
Okay.
Tim goes.
Go for. I'm gonna try to keep it short. It's bad. It's bad practice to like really spill a lot of tea about an old boss and to be super mean about it. It's just not good, and it's not something that I want to do. So I'll also, and Jon Huntsman is a well-intentioned person, and had we won, the presidency in 2012, the country would be in a lot better place. Okay. This guy, he's going around with Joe Manchin doing the no labels thing, and I got to tell you, my worry antenna went up, in a serious way. Like I'm my worries are my like worry meter is tingling right now because I figured that like cooler heads were going to prevail on this, eventually, and that this was a grift and they were going to make some consultant cash out of this. And then eventually, no. But sending Joe Manchin and Jon Huntsman to New Hampshire has me nervous. The Larry Hogan ad has me a little nervous. They like the attention. There was a room there where people were cheering for Manchin and Huntsman. And New Hampshire is a place where there are people that like this kind of no-labelsy thing. I can tell you, having worked for Jon Huntsman and gone and done the New Hampshire primary bit where we finished third place, we got, I believe, 16 or 17% of the vote. So, not horrible, no real chance to win, but a decent amount. Walking around Manchester and Portsmouth, he was popular. Right, like people would see him, be like, "Hey, John, attaboy, I'm with you." Like if you have 17% of support in a state, like people know who you are. You're kind of famous. Like people show up. Like we had full events, not Trump-size events, but you'd have town halls that have 400, 500 people there. That has an effect on people's psyche. You start to think, "Oh, this could actually happen." And I was watching that event, and I'm like watching Jon Huntsman's body language. I'm like, these guys might start to feel like they're onto something here. Like, they've got a full room. People are cheering for them. Jon Huntsman has never been a person that has a great political antenna, as evidenced by, our campaign and then his failed run for governor when he went back to Utah. But he is a guy that, like he came from a rich family. A lot of things worked out for him in life. Adversity wasn't like, so a lot of things that he experienced, this is, you reach into your ear and you pull out a silver dollar bill, you start to tell yourself that you got some magic here, right? You don't realize that your dad put the silver dollar behind your ear, I think that, there is, and he's also super talented. A lot of things came easy for him. So I'm a little nervous. I'm a little nervous. He despite being not a Trump type Republican, he went and worked for Trump. He did not help our effort to stop Trump in 2016. He did not in 2020. I just was looking at that Manchin Huntsman thing going, these guys might be working their way up to convincing themselves that they can do this and that the country's going to turn their lonely eyes to them. And that has me a little spooked. That's all I'm going to say.
What do you make of the Hogan and Huntsman? Like, there's only one Republican on a unity ticket.
You think that they're both angling for it? You think that Hogan put out that video because he was like, Huntsman was getting a little bit too much juice on his media tour?
I don't know.
Manchin. This is all crazy. It's all just speaking to this tiny slice of people that are very over-indexed, let's say, in New York, D.C., in their social circles. So I don't know. Maybe that was just kind of a momentum thing, not a rivalry thing, or they're trying to create momentum for this idea. And maybe cooler heads will prevail. And this is like, we got to give this a good college try. We're going to give 3 months. We're going to try to build momentum for this. And if it comes to Thanksgiving, if the polls show Trump 48, Biden 44, Manchin, Hogan 3, then we won't do it. Maybe that's where we're headed. But man, they're taking this a little more seriously than I hoped.
The part of this that I find the most mystifying is that Joe Biden has governed as the centrist that everybody in a no labels kind of place would want.
You're the only person that thinks that. You're JVL. I can't.
Yes, because I look
like
objectively at the things that he passed, and did the Supreme Court get packed? No. In fact, he had his commission, and then they came back.
Joe Manchin has been the senator that How could Joe Manchin not think that? I guess Joe Manchin's been unhappy that Joe Biden wanted to do some stuff that he didn't want to do, but he hasn't been pressured to do anything. And Joe Manchin has been the vote. Everything that's happened, Joe Manchin supported, except for the student loan thing.
Joe Manchin wanted it, right? Joe Manchin signed off on literally everything other than student loans, right? We don't have DC State. We didn't kill the filibuster. All the things that the crazy people like me wanted to do, DC statehood and kill the all that stuff, Joe Biden absolutely refused to do. And this is instead we've gotten a bunch of spending bills, almost all of which were bipartisan, and
Joe Manchin voted for everything. Has voted for everything that's passed.
Yeah, but he's also been he went on an apology tour about the Inflation Reduction Act and signing on to that,
which has worked. Inflation literally started turning around, as Tim pointed out when you guys were talking to Jen Psaki, right? A week after they passed the Inflation Reduction Act.
So we're going to go with the guy.
Inflation turned around.
I hear you, Sarah. But so we're going to go with the guy that
inflation turned around. They started raising interest rates.
Your pitch is we need a centrist candidate like me who regrets supporting some of the stuff that happened.
So here's I'm just pushing back on JVI's idea that here's the thing. I think Joe
Biden.
Biden
have done that would be more
I do not think Joe Biden has been a crazy progressive extremist. Agreed. But I also don't think he's been the centrist of our dreams. And that's maybe because you and I have different definitions of centrism. Whatever. He has been fine. And he is absolutely within the bounds that the idea that no labels would treat him as an extremist candidate that they needed to run a centrist candidate against is absurd. So
right,
you and I agree
with
on that.
The Trump thing in the New York Times this week, right, where he's talking about centralizing authority in the executive branch and remaking government in a more again, if you're no labels and you're looking at Joe Biden's administration versus Trump's stated vision for how he wants to remake the executive branch, how does that work? I don't understand it.
Also, what is the substantive policy differences that a Manchin Huntsman ticket would have? I guess they want to drill.
Did you JVL? I saw that you wrote a triad about this. What is it? Was it no labels, no ideas?
Yeah. No, that wasn't me. That was a piece we had on the website.
Oh, okay.
I did not write a triad.
Great
Dennis
headline.
Aftergut wrote that.
Great headline. I'm sure the piece is as good as the headline. But the point is, what is their policy platform? They put out a 70-page pile of goop, and it was
And then they were asking Huntsman and Manchin about and they like disagree. It was like, somebody's like, so where are you guys out on cap and trade, or carbon tax? And like one of them was like for, and the other one's like against. And so it's like, oh, okay, awesome.
It's the craziest. It is, as Tim said, it's the craziest thing. Like, we have the legislative accomplishment list that Joe Manchin wanted, and then he's going to say, but the Biden administration is so extreme that we have to risk electing Trump so that we can have a third party guy like me. It drives me insane. It makes me really angry.
It's concerning, though. My concern meter is increasingly high.
My concern meter's high, too. And I've actually been a little bit, like, on the people are overreacting to no labels bus. Because I think, like, okay, guys, like, settle down. Like, as soon as you... It's one thing to get 20% when people are, like, imposing their hopes and dreams on, that's the centrist candidate of my dreams. And then, like, the second you're like, it's Joe Manchin and Jon Huntsman. And you're like,
It's going to be cinema. It's going to be Kristen Cinema, I'm telling you. She's the one. She's cui bono, right? She's the one who has nothing to lose and everything to gain by being a presidential nominee who's a third party.
That's fine. But, like, this will appeal to... I think you can run centrist candidates. I just think you have to run centrist candidates from within a political party. And I like this is actually...
Or if Bernie Sanders is the nominee, right? If it's Trump versus Bernie Sanders, then run your centrist candidate, right?
Yeah. This is one of those things, though, that's interesting about political parties just today, which is that they are weak. They're weak enough that they can be hijacked, right? Or like, or that there's like a chunk that would run down the middle against them, but they're too strong to like not have a political party, right? And so like. Democrat, you're still going to be stronger as a Democrat, and yet it's like the Republican Party was so weak Trump could just completely take it over. But he had to run as a Republican.
Look, if there was an actual constituency for what he wanted to sell, then he would run in the Democratic primary against Joe Biden. Right? This is and if Larry Hogan, if there was a constituency, then Larry Hogan would run in the Republican Party as a Republican, or frankly in the Democratic Party. I submit to you, Larry Hogan might get a larger vote share in Iowa and New Hampshire running as a Democrat against Joe Biden than he would as a Republican against Donald Trump. Okay.
I mean, it'd be 8 versus 3, so it's not like it's not like there'd be overwhelming support. But I think
still,
I think
he'd be 2x.
He might
His
be
number would be
3x
in the Democratic Party.
Yeah, I think it might be. It could be. It actually could be 5x. It could be 10-2.
This is what these people don't understand. They're just Democrats. That's what I understand. Can't you people just get over the fact that as of right now, it doesn't mean forever. You don't have to get the tattoo.
Okay, we're not doing this one again. Okay. Move on.
I'll stop. One more thing. Brian Kemp said...
Although I do have a comment on that.
Brian Kemp said that he will, of course, endorse Donald Trump if he's the nominee. Is it possible that the only real good Republican is Mike Pence?
Yeah,
because we watched Mike Pence with Tucker, right? Like, Mike Pence is the guy actually doing all the things that everybody says they want from a good Republican. And I would like to... It amazes me, Sarah, that we're on opposite sides. Like, I'm like, yes, Mike Pence, but they should all go and become Democrats. And
I have two thoughts on this really quick. One, poor Mike Pence. Like, does Mike Pence have a humiliation kink? Like Tucker just like ran roughshod over him.
He and Mother have all sorts of dark stuff.
I mean, good. God love him. Good on him. Somebody has to be saying what he was saying, but since he doesn't have the tools to go head to head with Tucker and these kinds of things, and so like Tucker is like a rabid dog, attacking him with like nonsense and like making shit up and being like Christians are being persecuted in Ukraine, and Pence is like, that's not happening, and Tucker's like, you're a liar, you're the corporate media shill, and Pence is like getting smaller and smaller. Like, why is he doing this? He has no chance. Anyway, you should have listened to Sarah's focus groups. The Kemp thing is like. This goes back to the thing that frustrates me I'm sorry, so I'm going to bring back the JVL point that I just said we need to move on from. But it's like, you guys are just Democrats now. Like, you guys are just Democrats now. And I'm like, give me a Republican to vote for. Give me somebody to vote for. Like, this is disqualifying. Like, Brian Kemp, I fine, okay, whatever. Brian Kemp wants to be governor, but he's already been a 2-term governor. What does he want exactly? Is he running for an office? What is he saving himself for? The 2028 presidential campaign, I guess? But, like, Donald Trump attempted a coup. He's been indicted 3 fucking times. Like, he's a complete insane person. If you read his bleats, like, they're like a crazy man. Charlie and Tom Nichols were doing this yesterday. You couldn't hire this guy to manage your Arby's with his rap sheet. You literally couldn't hire him to manage your Arby's. And you're like, yeah, I want him to be the president. After he campaigned against me, after he called me a liar, after he like attacked, after people were, coming to my house, after I was worried about my safety, like, because of the way that Donald Trump attacked me. And still, I think he should be he's praising she, and I still think he should be the president. Like, that just shows a lack of judgment so extreme. Like, how am I, like, what do you want me to do? Like, what? Yeah, sure, fine. I guess I'm for Stacey Abrams over him next time. I don't know. What, like, who do you want me to be for? How can you have the judgment, demonstrate you have the judgment to be in higher office when you want the guy that can't manage an Arby's to be the president still? He's not in the midst of a primary right now. Like, what is he? I guess he doesn't want the MAGA people to attack him again. He's scared for his safety. And he's the governor. He's got security.
That's a quality rant.
Do you know why? They all think Trump's going to be president again. Like, watching the Megyn Kelly, watching these guys, they think Trump's going to be the nominee at least, and like, might as well get it out of the way. And I think you're right to some degree about the menace that people feel. Like, Kemp can do his thing and run, like, orthogonally from, like, he ran his race, and was able to win. People like Brian Kemp and they like how he governs the state, but he was very careful never to insult Donald Trump, right? He didn't take the fight to Trump.
Right.
I will say Trump had these guys all pegged. He really did. Trump saw that all of them were complete beta cucks, and they are. Like, the idea that Trump would be like, I will destroy you. This person's a fraud, a liar. This person was on her period and she had blood coming out of everywhere. And they're all like, when he walks into a room, you just can't take your eyes off him. Like, so Megyn Kelly's
she
whole
literally
thing
said that.
caused me to, like,
that's a real
vomit
quote
on my keyboard. Yeah, I know it's a real quote.
But just for listeners who don't punish themselves with Megyn Kelly clips, like, that was a real quote.
So, Sununu, I wrote a piece once. I haven't written that many. So, but goodbye to the good Republicans, because this is what they do, right? They are cucked by him. They expect that he'll be the nominee. And this is where, I may have said this last week.
And they're all going to pray that he loses. These people are all going to get down on their knees every single night praying that Joe Biden beats him.
Yeah, they will.
That's the weird part.
They absolutely will. But this is the collective action problem, and it's been going on for years. This is going to be the weirdest thing about watching this election again, especially for commentators like us. I mean, clearly we don't run out of content, but there is a part of me that just says, "We've seen this is what we're dealing with."
Day.
Yeah.
The social part of this, though, is important. Going back to answering my own rant about Kemp. Like, nobody in his world is like shaming him over this, right? Because everybody says, "Oh, that's what he's got to do. Oh, it's what he's got to do. He does because there's nobody that, like, the people in the Republican orbit and the business community and all the people that he deals with, they all agree with him and liked him and were Kemp Warnock voters. Like, they're all like, yeah, he's got to do this, and it's like, no, he doesn't. No, we don't. We don't have to do. You guys have an off ramp right now. You have many off ramps. Like, take your fucking off ramp right now. You don't have to do this anymore. And yet they all excuse it. And so if you're looking at, you're being Brian Kemp and you're like, man, if I say I won't vote for Trump, next time I go to the, DeKalb County Republican dinner, they're going to throw tomatoes at me. Or if I say I do vote for Trump, then the worst thing I have to do is, like, maybe one of my wife's friends kind of looks askance at me at a dinner party, but nobody, like from a social setting, like, they've created a comfort bubble around this. It's fucking, and it's like, so anyway, if you Look, know a Republican, shame them.
If they didn't take the off ramp after the attempted coup, then it means that there was literally nothing that they would take an off-ramp for. Okay. Fundraising numbers, the debate stage, Doug Burgum's little give me $1, I give you $20 thing seems to have worked. He told Hugh Hewitt today that he believes they will cross the threshold and get onto that debate stage. Why? I don't quite know. Do you have any theories behind that, Sarah?
About what? About
why Doug Burgum is doing this? Why is he why is he giving away like Brewster's Millions style?
There's not a lot to do in North Dakota, and he's a billionaire.
It's close to Iowa. Easy jet flight.
These guys have all just said to themselves, "Well, I'm a billionaire. Why not? I could do this.
It could happen to me.
I can run a pyramid scheme and get on the what a business proposition, right? Like, he's like, I understand how this works. I'll do, and like he's gonna get on the debate stage, and that'll be great. I am excited for Burgum. I think I'm gonna decide to like be pro Burgum. One of the things I like about him is how slowly he talks, and so like in the frenetic like chaos pace of the rest of them, he's got
like a vignette. It's like a namaste.
He's like, it's like you just wait with bated breath. What wonderful droplets of capitalism will you bestow on us slowly?
So
I just have one sentence on this really quick on the Hugh Hewitt thing. After listening to Candace Owens for a month, read my Candace Owens profile if you haven't, people. It's funny. Good. Candace is like that's the real primary. Right, like that's like actual Republican primary voters listen to Candace, you know,
right?
And on her show, Doug Burgum doesn't exist, Tim Scott doesn't exist, Nikki Haley doesn't exist. Like none of these people even exist. Like the only candidates that are ever brought up are Vivek, RFK, DeSantis, who she doesn't like, and Trump. Right, like that's the whole primary, right? And so it's kind of funny to me, like on the Hugh like that there's this whole imaginary primary that's happening, like on the Hugh Hewitt show and on the Wall Street Journal Ed board and like in Karl Rove's like meetups that he has in Houston, and it's like there's this there's a rich
should
guy
we be for Nikki, or should we
there's
be
like
for
a rich
Tim
guy
Scott?
Imaginary primary that's out there that they're like, oh, let's see we're looking at all these metrics, and it's like none of that even matters. Like in the real primary, like these people don't even exist as entities.
And that's important, actually, not just from the standpoint of like those institutions, but from the standpoint of the candidates. Like, why does Mike Pence think he can do this? Why does Nikki Haley think she can do this? Because they spent a lot of time at AEI events.
In the imaginary primary.
That's right. Yeah. Well, and with the people of the Wall Street Journal editorial board.
Yeah.
Like, if they spent lots of time with voters, if they actually were listening to them,
they would know. What
oh boy, guys,
they would know.
We watched it in Iowa.
Tim, watch this. I'm going to break Sarah's brain. What if Joe Biden replaced Kamala Harris on the ticket with Mike Pence? There's your unity ticket.
What is wrong with you? Like,
a good Republican. Okay. Chris Christie will make it onto the debate stage, we think.
Right.
Asa seems like he may not. And
so. Tim, have you rethought your Chris Christie hatred?
I don't know if Pence is. No. Rethought. Well, actually, that's not true. I have rethought it. I've thought about it, and I've come to the same conclusion.
Not me. I'm excited he's going to be on the debate stage. I think it's good. I do think the problem...
Maybe he could be Joe Biden's running mate.
Yeah.
Unity ticket.
Okay.
No.
I do think... Sorry, I cut you, JVL, off before. You're right. I wonder, do you know, actually, in that list of people, so we know Chris Christie's going to make the debate stage.
Right.
Burgum might get there. Like Nikki? Pence?
I think Nikki's in. I think Nikki and Scott are in.
Okay.
Asa, I think, is bubble. Pence, he's at 6%. The truth, Mike Pence is in third place. Now, maybe not for long because Vivek is chasing him, and Vivek may pop over him pretty soon. But he's in third place. He's raised a little bit of money, not a lot. Very, very tough fundraising numbers for him. Was it 1.12 million? Maybe Sebastian can check that for me. Like half of it from his town in Indiana. Yeah. Half of it from Indianapolis. And I suppose the other half from AEI. And
if the average donor, you assume the average donor for Pence is high, right? Like he's not getting
probably $3,500. Yeah, he's probably getting the full general election.
I don't think he's even close to the number right now to get on the debate stage.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
That is
the former vice president of the United States is not gonna make the debate stage because he's
so
been
imagine what
rejected.
that would be if the guy who's not only the former vice president but is also in polling in third place. If he 1.2 million for his campaign. Wow.
Yeah, because the people he's in third place from name ID. Like the thing about Pence that's wild is that you're not measuring him on the metric of all the other candidates. You're measuring him on a metric of former vice president, 100% name ID. Okay,
Right.
He to be at 6%, it is pathetic, right?
A guy who
people know what
be
they think
closer
of
to
Mike
Trump.
Pence.
Right.
He's losing. He's losing to Vivek, and Burgum's hot on his heels.
I mean,
Sarah's man, Vinyasa Doug.
okay. Guys, it's been a good show. It's been a long show. Hit the subscribe button. Go over to thebulwark.com. Sign up for all the free stuff. Leave us 5 more stars on the Apple Podcast app, please. I keep tabs on these. I would like some better reviews. I think you people can do better. And we will be back
have a little
on
whimsy.
Sunday.
Have a little whimsy, in the reviews. I like
What's
a little
wrong
whimsy.
with the reviews?
Oh, they're just a little literal, and
a lot of Tim and Sarah love. I would say I don't pop on the reviews very often.
Oh, well,
Not that
obviously.
Do you know?
Not
I
that
will
I'm
go leave a
measuring that.
review to talk about how much I love you.
You've not reviewed our own podcast yet?
Definitely not. Have you reviewed our podcast?
Yeah, not only
you
have I
both done
reviewed
that?
our podcast, I take Tyler's phone and I review everybody's podcast, and then I leave comments that are like, I really love when you have on that Tim. So when you're seeing the Tim name pop, that's me reviewing from Tyler's phone. I get, if I get a few beers in me with my buddies, sometimes I'll do it on their
You're like,
phone.
hey, give me your phone. Give me your phone. I'm going to go to your iTunes and.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we got a banger of a show coming on Sunday. Is that am I right about that?
Sunday,
Tim?
yeah.
Yeah. Is that the one we taped? You and I?
Ben McKenzie.
Who is it?
Ben
Who's that?
McKenzie from the OC.
Our second guest from the OC on the Next Level Sunday show.
We're gonna get. I want to get Misha. What was Misha?
Misha Barton.
What's
Barton.
Misha doing these days?
I don't know. I'm gonna ask Ryan. I just called him Ryan. Ouch. I'm gonna ask Ben. Ryan Atwood was his character name. What if Misha has any political opinions that we could engage her on? Ben actually has a lot of substantive political. He wrote a whole book on crypto, and so most of the show is about crypto. Very, just a little. On
the entire show is basically about about crypto because I never watched the OC. It's a really, really good show. I would say if you care at all about the entire crypto scam world, Ben McKenzie is one of the 2 or 3 best writers on this in America, and his book is great.
What a weird path for him to take.
I know.
It's fascinating.
We talked about that.
Yeah, he's really good. Anyway, we'll see you on Sunday, and then we'll be back here next week on Wednesday. Bye.
Peace.